Choose your character.
All right. Welcome back to the Geekset podcast, the only podcast that blend hip-hop culture and geek culture together. I'm your boy Deuces, and this is One-on-One with Deuces, the place where I speak with creators, curators, and people that you should know. And right now, we got a legend, man. We got somebody that shaped a lot of our childhoods. We got the multi-talented, the one and only Kel Mitchell. How are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm good, man. Blessed up. Blessed mode.
I love the path that you are walking right now. But one of the things, and I want to shout out Dreamcast because they kind of really started that, giving people their flowers while they're here. So a lot of the times when I announce my interviews, we give our supporters and the people who follow us the opportunity to ask questions to the people that we're going to be interviewing, right? And I know that you probably think like the most asked question is going to be like, does he really like orange soda? But the one thing that I really want to, like, most people just legit said, I don't have a question, but can you just please thank Kel for the entertainment and the things that he brought to this culture and to my youth? And I know you hear it all the time, but I wanted to tell you face to face or Zoom to Zoom that, like, bro, like, you legit like gave us so much as kids, so much as our youth, so much to this culture, and you are heavily appreciated and held in a high regard. And I want to make sure that you hear that from my voice and from the people who told me to tell you that, because, man, we do truly
I appreciate that. That's what's up. Thank you.
One of the funniest things, and I tell people this all the time, like when I talk about like my personal journey in school and stuff like that, like, you know, you come from Chicago, so like you walked this similar path where you weren't in the streets, but you knew people that were in the streets, right? So it's like, but you lived there as well. Like you came from, you come from the hood, and that's that story that a lot of people don't often tell about. Everybody's not the biggest gangbanger or drug dealer, but we are in the trenches and we live that, right? But the one thing that you gave is you gave the goofy kid an identity, because growing up in school, especially living in that environment, if you weren't the sports jock, or you weren't like the quote unquote thug, you probably was kind of like a little bit invisible. Now, you always had somebody that was funny in the class clown, but like that's not where the intention went. But when you came out, and just with everything that you did with All That and Good Burger, you gave that identity to like the goofy kid, like I think you was telling the story that you was one of those kids that you would do a cartwheel just for the laugh.
Facts.
That was me as a kid as well. I would do stuff just for the laugh, but it's like, you gave us an identity, and that I thought that was really cool, because it was like, that, like, if you like Kel, then hey, I'm like Kel light. I'm like
Word.
So like that was really, really dope, man. Like, again, just thanking you for your contribution and everything that you
I appreciate that. That's what's up. Yeah.
So I mean, you started off, you talked about Blessed Up. I do want to get into, you being an active youth pastor right now, and you have your book Blessed Up, which is a 90 days to level up your faith. And the stay on par with what my podcast and everything is about. We talk about culture. We talk about video games and how, and stuff like that. And you said that this book was inspired kind of by that God mode code back in the day. But like for those who just, who aren't aware of this path that you're walking on in your book, what is your book about?
All right, so Blessed Mode is to let everybody know that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, man. And that I just want to show people that a lot of times we're going through a lot of trouble right now, a lot of stuff in the world, but I want to let people know that they are loved by God and that we all part of the same family. So I wanted this book to be like the big homie or the coach, you know what I'm saying, that is rooting you on for your day, to go after your dreams, go after, if you're trying to do something in entrepreneurship, you're doing something in the arts, you know what I'm saying? Go for it. And just connecting with God in the morning. So I decided to create this book. Now, the game part of it, which I thought was really dope. You know, back in the day in Nintendo, they had up, down, left, right, start, right? And so you would do those like type of codes, and designers of the game would do those so they could go in and kind of fix the game and stuff like that. And so, but when consumers started to find it, or us that were playing the game, now was like a cheat code, a God mode, and we could go to different levels, we get different lives and all that stuff like that. So now you know what the designer knows. And so similar now, when we connect with God, we know what God knows. He knows our future and he designed us. So that's what I wanted to let people know, that you were designed for a purpose. And I want you to go out there like, hey, you got you're an avatar. You know what I'm saying? Like, go, you know, get all your stuff ready. You know what I mean? So take care of your mental self, your spiritual self, you know what I'm saying? Your physical self all together before you walk out the door. And yeah, that's really what Bless Mode. Now, I don't know if you've seen the trailer, but your podcast would love it. Have you seen the trailer, the book trailer?
I think I have, but you know what? I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna
to type in Bless Mode book trailer, Kel Mitchell, and dude, I used Irvin Lambert. You know Irvin Lambert? Yeah. Okay. So Irvin Lambert, my boy, King Vader. I got the whole clique together, and they helped put my vision together for the Bless Mode trailer, and I'm fighting my emotions. And it's a really dope trailer. I wanted it to look like a video game, and I wanted it to look like anime as well. So you will see a lot of stuff in there from like Demon Slayer, and then also Pilgrim. What was that joint? Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, so you'll see me do some like power-ups and stuff like that within the trailer. But yeah, that'll show you how much, you know, I'm into like gaming and stuff and anime and stuff. Yeah.
Dope. So, you know, I got a chance to interview the brother King Vader and talk to him a lot. I would definitely love to speak with him a little bit more to, you know, get an opportunity to put him on this platform. But King Vader, that's one of the people that like I truly love in this blurred culture. He's one of the people that I often use as an example when people talk about like blurred culture, and I'm like, no, let me tell you about the people that are doing it now who are changing the face of it. I was like, yes, have our classic people like Steve Urkel, and you know, we have the classic nerds like Carlton and stuff like that. But like, there's a lot of people that also like right now who got their foot on the pulse of the culture, like King Vader or Mark Phillips in RDC World, or Cloud, Cleo Thomas in the arcade tokens. Like I often talk about that. So it's like I already know with those people, if you got them attached to your trailer, this trailer is about to be amazing. So I'm gonna definitely make sure I put it in here so that way for the people watching this can also watch it as well. But here's the funny thing about like connecting to what your book is about, right? And you talk about like finding your path, finding your higher purpose, and you know, trusting in God. So I had two of those moments recently, right? And I'm not subscribed to a specific religion, but I do believe in a higher power in God, right? So I love books like, you know, like yours, because then I can take from it and take those lessons and apply it. So we started this podcast probably about 4 years ago, and we started doing our podcast. We wanted to be that blend between hip hop culture and geek culture, but talk about it at a high level, right? Now, I'm a person that I love to collaborate. I love to be a part of things. I love to be a part of something big, right? So when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, I don't want our podcast to stop. So we're going to do things through Zoom, but I'm going to create this show where I also speak with people to give some, you know, just to bring some more compelling eyes to our show, right? And then I got a chance to talk to some really dope individuals, and I'm just like, oh, you know, me being the person like trying to see the bigger vision, I'm like, oh man, it'd be dope if I work with them, doing this way. And I was going so hard on trying to bring my podcast to another situation and try to come with it, right? But I was being successful doing these type of interviews. Like, you know, I talked to your people and I was able to book you for this interview. Nobody, no big major name behind us, no cosign. It was literally off of the work that we did, right? And so I was having these moments of getting major people like yourself on this podcast. And I literally felt like at some point, God talked to me and said, look, I get it. You want to be a part of something big, but you have to realize that you are big. Like you, like the stuff that you are doing. And so then I said, you know what? I'm gonna stop trying to do that. And I'm just going to focus on growth of me and my team. And at that point, it was an awakening. It was like, you know what? We are the draw. It's not, I need to align with somebody. People need to align with us. And when I changed that thought process, that's when other like big major networks and things that we wanted to work with really started reaching out to us. Like, yo, we like what you're doing. And even though nothing has came from it yet, to me, having that moment of, you know what, I was trying so hard to be in the game, and now the game is coming to us. Mm-hmm. I like that was God telling me, like, yo, stop that. Just do you continue working the path that you're working because you're on that right path. So it's like I can connect a lot with that with your book about having power and finding your purpose.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, I mean, God gives us the divine ideas and amazing ideas. And when we say, okay, I'm going to do it, because a lot of people, they start to worry about it instead of just saying, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a warrior instead of a worrier. You know what I mean? I'm going to just really go and do it and step out there. And then what happens is like what you just said, where that God knew the setup. He knew how he's putting it together and building your empire. You know what I mean? But as we're going through it, we're like, oh man, but there's a real, when you have it's a meaningful purpose, when it's meaningful, when you enjoy every moment, you know what I mean? And where you're just really in the present and saying, I'm going to enjoy this and I'm going to do this to the best of my ability within this presence. And what's going to happen is that doors are going to start to be open. You know what I mean? At that point, because now you're really tuning your craft, you're getting your team ready. You know what I'm saying? Like you're doing everything possible. And now you're getting like, you know, interviews like you were saying, which is so dope. You know what I mean? So dope. Yeah. Yeah. Power of one.
And so, and I love the fact that, with mental health being a thing, right, and especially within the Black community, and just like I said, just finding our voice as Black people in general, and with you starting off as a kid star and then bringing it back to being a youth pastor, talking to the kids and helping them find their way. Like how important is that to you to be a part of that culture of, you know what? Yes, I was part of entertainment. And yes, I know a lot of kids love the draw for entertainment, but let me tell you how to tap into your emotional side, how to deal with your emotions, how to deal with your mental state. Like how important has that been to you in your walk of life?
Very important, man. I dealt with that a lot. We talk to ourselves a lot of times. We end up talking ourselves out of stuff, and we dealing with, I've been through depression, I've been through anxiety, and it all comes up, and these thoughts that just come in our head, right? And what you have to do at that point, you got to really start thinking about positive thoughts in that moment. Because when the body does that, when it's a warning or anxiety, it's like a warning. It's like telling you, hey, you need to meditate, you need to pray, and and do those things that God has told you that you can do and that you've been designed to do. And that's why I wrote Blessed Mode, because it's a thing of getting up in the morning. So I start you off with a Bible verse. And then after the Bible verse, then I go into a story of my life, right? And how that connected. And then after that, I'll take you through a prayer. And then at the end, I have you do something called where you apply it to your life, a call to action, where it's called Go Get Them Blessings. And in that is so dope, because now you're really doing what I just told you to do. So you read it, but now you're going to apply it to your life. So maybe I'll have you forgive somebody, or maybe I'll have you do some burpees or some push-ups. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm mixing all the physical and all together, because it's a lifestyle. Like this it's a blessed lifestyle. And that's what I want to let people know. It's just like to be blessed and to still be happy and smile, even when there's trouble going on, and know that you're going to get through it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I like that you call it a devotional, not a memoir. Like I like the theme,
oh yeah.
But also I feel like once somebody can go through something, that's a good way, that they're a good voice to speak for, right? So like some of the paths that you've been through, like I said, you've talked about, growing up in Chicago and still having friends and family that are in like the thick of it, of what, what the stereotype of what Chicago is, but they're still in the thick of it, in that lifestyle, right? And you've had some unfortunate people passed, within it, and you had to deal with that, right? But you also talk about, you've had marriages, that didn't necessarily work out. You also went through being celibate. Like you went through different paths that require a high level of mental state, right? focus. So the fact that you went through that, I think that also, like, you know, the first draw, people see like, oh man, it's Kel Mitchell. But then when you actually look into your story, because you also talked about having it all, being a child actor, losing it all, and then having to climb back. And I think that's why it means so much, because we're like, yo, we knew this story, but we never really put it together. And now that we put it together, he has this book that's also encouraging and empowering. I think that's why it means so much to a lot of people to see that, because it's like, yeah, this is somebody who's seen some stuff, and I would love to hear what he has.
Yeah, I want it to be very relatable. You know what I mean? And that's why, I am from Chicago, so I want to keep it all the way 100. You know what I'm saying? To keep it real with people. And, and being a youth pastor, that's another thing too. When you're speaking to teens, they can sniff out if you being fake and whatnot. You know what I mean? So when you really tell your story, you just can't read from the word of God. You got to go like, well, how can I apply this into my life? You know what I mean? And that's the whole point of the Bible, of the word of God, of these stories, and so that you can apply it to yourself. You know what I mean? And I always tell my stories. I'm very transparent. That proved it right there, because you knew a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So I let people know what's up, because when I meet them, I feel like you meet everybody for a reason, right? So if I'm doing an interview, or if I meet somebody in the street and they're talking to me about God, or just something that they're going through, I want to be able that they see the heart, that they see the real, Kel, like they might have known me from Ed, you know what I mean? Kel Kimball, Keenan and Kel, which is all dope. But then when you meet me, then you say, oh man, you see the God in me, you see Kel Mitchell, you know what I mean? And that's what I really want people to feel, because we're all family. You know what I mean? We're all family at the end of the day, man. Yeah.
What is blessed mode? Well, I like to think of it like playing a video game. You start out with a set number of lives or points or coin, and then you work your way through obstacles and challenges. You fight battles and monsters, you slay dragons, and you gain new abilities and skills along the way. You start to level up and then level up again. People will think you have some type of cheat code. Cheat codes are created by video game developers to help game testers skip levels, easily find items, and heal their character so they can efficiently test the game. They can be used to unlock special features for players by typing in the code that only the developer knows. Some games call this God mode.
You don't belong here. We know you too well.
Because you know what the creator knows. If you apply this concept to blessed mode, it means you are able to keep advancing in life even when things look impossible, because God is with you. Here's the best news about blessed mode. All God requires of us is to believe and to call. When you're in blessed mode, you can be a reflection of God's greatness at all times. This book offers simple daily reminders of who God designed you to be. You are beautifully and wonderfully made. And like a video game avatar, capable of being charged up by God's power, making the impossible possible in your life.
So I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So me and you, we walked a similar path. So, but here's the one thing that I always equate with, like, with your path, and the reason why I think like people also love your path, but like I equate it to like Kendrick Lamar. So hear me out. And this is I know it's going to be a journey that I'm going to take you on real quick, but like back to what I said at the beginning, where I was like, there's a handful of people who lived in the hood, who grew up in the hood, but didn't, like I said, they wasn't the hardcore gangster. They wasn't the big time drug dealer, but they was in there and they could speak from that vision, right? So when you listen to Good Kid, Mad City, right? One of the biggest draws about Kendrick Lamar in that story is he's telling his hood story that a lot of people in the hood can relate to. But if you listen to like the skits and the stuff that he talks about, it was always the people that was around him that was doing, like, you know, saying a lot of the other things that was a part of that environment. And it wasn't Kendrick. And because he walked that path and told that story, a lot of people was able to relate to it. I also do music, and I did an album called all I ever wanted was an opportunity. And I wanted to tell that story because I was like, look, I knew the person who always had a gun. I knew the person who always had, who was, who was the, the drug dealer. And growing up, because you are influenced, I did try him a little bit. Now, I knew for a fact that I wasn't about that life. And people around me who was in that life would tell me like, bro, you're not about this life. You are good at music. You are good at this. Do this, right? And I wanted to tell that story because I was like, I feel like there's more people in the world like us who grew up in the environment but didn't really do it. Like we may have tried it, but we tried it because we just really wanted to have an opportunity to do something, that everybody else. I wanted to be cool. That was my opportunity of they doing this, I'm gonna do this. Oh, okay. I don't really like that. Oh, are they doing this? I'm gonna do it. And it was like I equated to all I ever wanted was an opportunity to be a part of it, right? So I think that voices like yours and Kendrick Lamar, where you guys can talk from that at a real level, like you said. Other kids, youth, they can tell when you are a real
word. Yeah.
Lived in the suburbs and you was trying to do this. Some people might be like, all right, but you really wasn't in the thick of it. But like you, I think if I'm not mistaken, you from the South Side, probably you grew up in the Wild Hundreds, like you was there.
Yeah, man. I was right over there on the South Side of Chicago. And just like what you just mentioned, I had a situation where when my uncle was murdered and I went to the funeral, and I had just started all that. So I was just starting on the show. And this is something deep. That's my son. He's man. So what's really deep about it is that he had asked me, my uncle, he was like, yo, can I be your bodyguard? And at the time, it wasn't like, I was like, man, I'm not Michael Jackson and nothing like that at this point, because the show, we had just filmed it. And I think only like 3-4 episodes had aired. So it wasn't even, you know what I mean? And so, but then later that summer, he was murdered. And so I took that with me for years. Like people didn't even know. And I had told my dad when I got older that I just held that entire time because I felt like, yo, if I would have let him be my bodyguard, then that wouldn't have happened. But then my dad had explained, like, the lifestyle he lived and, he spoke to you about the lifestyle. You already know, you know what I mean? So, that wasn't it. And I'm like, yeah, but it was like just that thought process. So when I was on all that, I was super going hard for like, you know what I mean? My people's back in the shy, you know what I mean? And just really, doing it for them, you know what I mean? Because I remember when I was at the funeral, I remember my one of my cousins, and then people were gonna retaliate, all those different things. And then my cousin, I was looking like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? My cousin was like, no, you gonna go back to Nickelodeon. Yeah. That would be the thing that'll make him proud. Yeah. So I took that and was like, let's go. Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger, man. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I could talk to you about that so you understand, you know what I mean? What I mean? Whereas like, and you just, it is like a lifestyle that we grew up in, but it is beautiful when it's people that have been through it, but then can also show this other side. You know what I mean? Because, and when people talk about the South Side of Chicago, I love to let people know that it's a lot of loving people that are on the South Side too. It's a lot of great arts on the South Side of Chicago. That was what saved my life. I got into theater on the South Side of Chicago. It was a drama teacher at a community theater down the street. You know what I mean? And, and I joined a lot of dance crews, and hip hop saved my life. I was into that. I was in a breakdance crew and I did graffiti and all that stuff. So it's just, it's shout out to the arts. And that's why I support the arts. Even living in California, I support the arts out here in Compton, National College Resource Foundation, like any foundation and people that are doing the arts. I'm always making sure that I'm supporting, because, youth learn in different ways and gravitates towards things in different ways. It could be that one comic book that you gave them that changed their whole life, and now they drawing, you know what I'm saying? So it's deep. Yeah.
I often tell people about Chicago too. Like, even like say you talked about, hip hop saved your life. Like anytime, you see like everybody always put like, what's that one album that you can play that you don't skip? I always make sure that I throw in Twista, Adrenaline Rush, right? Because I tell people growing up, my goats, the people that I looked up to was Twista, Bone Thugs and Harmony, The Brat, Crucial Conflict, Do or Die, Lupe Fiasco. Like I grew up because, again, being from Milwaukee, Chicago was right there. And
right there, bro. Yeah.
I loved everything about it, and then like even right now, and I tell people all the time, like, because I've been fortunate enough to talk to a lot of comedians. The best comedians are coming out of Chicago.
Facts.
Animal Birds, Tony Baker, you know what I'm saying? Like, D-Ray. Like,
D-Ray. I know D-Ray. That's fam.
So much amazing. And then the show, Southside. I literally had this conversation with somebody. I said, one, I love Southside. I love Black Hollywood now because we're finally getting able to do things that doesn't have to be rooted in trauma all the time, right? Like we had, we're getting to explore fantasy and sci-fi. And I said, Southside, one of the reasons why I love Southside is it reminds me so much of Seinfeld. Southside is literally, there's really no linear storyline. It's every episode, the most randomest, craziest thing is going to happen. And it's really, the show is really about nothing, but it's like, it's really life about in Chicago and the craziness. Like, like one of the, I don't know if you are up on the episode of Southside, but one of the show episodes that I
was actually on the show. I actually got on there. Yeah. Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes was the episode when the Jordans was dropping, because it was like, you got to see the okay, the Jordans is dropping, and you got to see like how impactful that is, like, sneaker culture and everything. But I love that every episode is like, you never know what's going to happen. And it's just pure comedy, pure just like hilariousness. Like, I love that show. But it's like, I love right now, Chicago is doing so much great things, and it gets overshadowed by, again, like the stereotypes and
exactly
stuff that's actually happening there. But like, people equate that to like, that's all Chicago's about. And it's like, nah, man, Chicago got so much culture and so much art and so much amazingness that's coming out. Like, yes, every city's gonna have bad things that happen, but you also gotta highlight the great and highlight the good.
Real talk. It's true.
So one of the things stories that I was like, oh, that's like an amazing moment that doesn't get talked to about a lot, is that you actually had a freestyle battle with Common at Metro Music in Chicago.
Yes, I did. Yeah, my sister worked at Metro Music, which was so big for me because I was really big into hip hop. And, a lot of artists, when they came through to, promote their album, they would, come out there and perform. And then they would go to Metro Music and sign autographs the day before they go do their concert or whatever. And I saw a lot of artists come in and out of there. And I remember I was up there and Common walked in, and he actually went to high school with my sister too, actually. But it was super dope when he walked in, and then we just started rhyming. And I was in the crisscross around that time. So I was hitting the, the miggity mac and miggity Kel. So, I don't know who really won. Maybe he was just being nice, what I mean? But it was cool, and then seeing him out here in LA is super dope. You know what I mean? And seeing him in LA and seeing, his career just take off as well. And we all grew up around, in the same, area, you know what I mean? Kanye grew up over there too. The Brat, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's crazy. Twista, me and Twista think we cousins because we both have the last name Mitchell. So we're actually trying to figure that out. We're trying to figure it out.
I love Twista so much, man. Like, I tell people all the time, I'm like, when I get into the debates of hip hop debates and goats, I always bring up Twista in. And it is funny because I get the same reaction. Everybody always go, Twista? And they be like, oh yeah, it makes sense. It's like, like, put some respect on that name right there. Like,
dope, man. Twista's dope.
Remember what your rap name was back in that time?
I had a bunch of rap names. When I was that age, it might have been K Smooth. At that age. Because I went through a lot of them. K Smooth, Wicked. What was the other one I had? Kel Rock. Kel Rock was my last one. Like, yeah. But and then I just went to Kel. Yeah. But Kel Rock was like my tag. A lot of those were my tags too with hip hop. I might be telling myself, people gonna start looking trains. Like, wait a minute.
It's funny because like one of my podcast hosts, Lib, on here, he had tag names. They used to run and do a lot of tags, and I think statute of limitations has hit. I think you're good now, but like, okay. I go to Chicago a lot now, so now I'm gonna look for it. If I ever see one, I'm sending you a picture like, hey.
That's what's up.
Also, like, so speaking of rapping, how did the song with Immature come? Like, how did Watch Me Do My Thing happen?
Bro, that that thing took off, man. I mean, he actually got on like we're on the Billboard charts for that song. It was crazy, got nominated, like you know what I mean? I was like, but how it started was that it was all that soundtrack. Mm-hmm. And I remember Brian hit me up, who was also a hip hop head, my executive producer on the show, and he hung out with Russell a lot, and so he was really into hip hop and Loud Records, that whole clique, and so we were like, "Yo, let's do it." So when he told me, I had been rapping. I was rapping before I was acting, so I was thinking like, "Yo, I get to rap. Immature, the hottest R&B kid group right now, dope." And when I walked up there, they was like, "Yeah, but here's the thing: you got to do it as Ed." And I was like, yo, wait, I got it all written out though. And they were like, nah, but you got to rap as Ed, not Kel. And I said, all right, well, Ed about to be spitting.
At bars.
Yo, and it's funny, like it took off, and then now it's like it's got new legs. Like everybody's found something, they found it. Yeah. So now it's all over TikTok and over Instagram, and people like, yo, Kel was over there spitting. But that was fun, man. And I got to tour with Immature and rap. We hit stages and doing the song, and we were on Soul Train doing that song as well. Yeah, man, it was dope.
In my head, you know how like in Waterboy, like, Bobby Boucher, like he was like awkward, but when it came down to football, he was a beast. So in my head, Ed's like, hey, I'm a dude, like he's being Ed, but then as soon as the beat come on, it's like B Rabbit, like it's like focus, like Ed about to give you these bars, like that's when Ed gets serious. When it comes down to music, Ed gets serious.
Man, what's funny? I'll tell you something funny. So after I did it, I remember their producers, Immature's producers, they were like, yo, we want to put out an Ed album.
Oh, that would have been so fire.
I know, now looking back, you know what I mean? I'm going, that might have been smart. But like at the time, you got to think what my head was. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, because I had my boys, we rapped, you know what I mean? And I was just like, I don't know. But it could have been dope. Ed could have had a whole clique. My homies could have been rapping in Good Burger shirts. We could have made it wild.
All right, so I got two segments that I got to do with you before I get you out of here.
Yeah.
So because I don't think the world really knows how much of anime fan that you are. Now, it doesn't have to be in order, but I want to get, what is your top 5 animes?
Wow, you better do that to me.
That's
yeah.
the question for
I'm gonna say Akira, because it was the first one I was introduced to. Really, you know what I mean? And the motorcycle and all that stuff, and just the whole mindset, it still kind of sticks with me, like when I'm thinking about anime. So definitely Titan. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, okay. Because that joint right there with the giants and the eating, and it was like, that one's a crazy one. Demon Slayer is bananas. That's just crazy. Naruto, gotta throw that in there. What else? I'm trying to think. I mean, can we throw Afro Samurai in there? Can we get? You know what I mean? Okay, let's throw that in there. Yeah,
that's a solid list. All right, so a little bit now. This one's going to be more polarizing than even the anime one. I think you're synonymous with 90s. Like, I feel like when you think about it, you are synonymous with it. So now I want to get, and this doesn't have to be in order, top 5 90s shows.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay, so I gotta eliminate myself, right? Out of this list. Okay, he said yes. Okay, so top 90s TV shows. All right. Martin. Off rip, that's Martin. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Ooh, just 5, right? Okay. In Living Color.
Yep.
Okay, so Martin, Fresh Prince, In Living Color. Ooh, okay. Now this is because I'm gonna throw a curveball in there for everybody. The Rock.
Yeah.
Now, reason I'm gonna say Rock is because it was very, as a young kid growing up, it was very similar to how I grew up, and I love the fact that they got real deep. You know what I mean? And it was a father. He was really breaking it down. My pops was like that, giving us, mad advice, in the hood, in the neighborhood. My pops was like that. So I would definitely say rock. And then I got to throw it to my homie Jaleel, man. I got to throw it to Family Matters, man, because that boy right there with the physical comedy, man, he killed it as far as Urkel. And that's one of the original Blurs right there.
I would love to get him on here too as well.
Yeah.
One quick thing about rock. We literally probably like 4 or 5 episodes ago on our podcast, we had a conversation about it because one of my co-hosts brought up rock, and I was like, I mean, yeah, I did like rock, but I was like, I didn't have it up there and everything. It was this big thing because my brother's also on this show with me. He does this podcast with me, and he's my younger brother, born in '92. So he didn't remember rock at all. And I was the argument came up. I was like, but a lot of people don't remember rock. And my other 2 co-hosts, they was like, everybody remembers rock. We got the calling people on the podcast. Like, do you remember? Like, it was a whole thing. So they're gonna be happy that you showed some love to rock.
Hey, yeah, tell him, man. Rock was lit, man. And you talking about Lorenz Tate, man? Like he's from the South Side of Chicago too, as well. You know what I mean? Chicago native, man. And so shout out to the Tates. So yeah, man, rock was lit. And it was dope seeing Lorenz in Menace to Society because knowing he from the Chi. I mean, he killed that accent, the LA accent.
One thing I like to ask actors who've played multiple characters. Now, this was in the last segment, but I forgot to ask you this. When it comes, if you had to pick 2 of your characters out of any of the characters that you did to do a buddy cop movie, what 2 characters would you pick?
Whoa. To do a buddy cop movie?
Yep.
Oh man, I don't know. From all that, that'll be funny. From all that.
Any character, any movie, any show that you were part of.
Yeah. A buddy cop movie, man. Also the 2 characters would do it. Yeah. Would they do it? Or 2 characters in different movies?
Man, to your 2 characters. So it could be like Ed and Kel Kimball, or it could be your character from 101 and your character from Wild Grinders. Like, which 2 characters you think would have
That's so vast. I'm like trying to make them like, all right, so I'll keep it simple so it's easier for me. All right, so if it's all that, then I would say Coach Creedon.
Okay.
And Coach, because if you talk about a buddy cop, because I'm a writer too, so I know it, like it'd go all over the place. So if you did like Coach Creedon and Ed, it'd just go all over the place. You know what I mean? Just how annoyed Coach Creedon would be with Ed.
Coach would be like the Danny Glover, like I'm too over this, like that'd be his character.
Yeah, you might have put me on to something, man. That might be a good burger too. Ed becomes a cop.
Last segment, a recommendation could be something that you're reading, watching, listening to, but something that you think that our readers and viewers should tap into.
Something that you all should tap into. There's I'll give you 2 things. It's an awesome book called Commanding Your Morning by Cindy Trim. Amazing book. It's also a devotional, but it's just amazing. Of course, Bless Mode, grab that. And then next up, get into some CHH, man, some Christian hip hop. Yeah. Get into it. I'm really big into Christian hip hop. I work with a lot of them. I've directed some of them in music videos. And yeah, check out rapzilla.com. That's my people's. And check out a lot of like CHH music. You know what I mean? It's dope. Yeah.
That's one thing in my research. I was like, oh man, with you being an active youth pastor, I was like, but he's been pumping Christian music for a while. Like,
yeah.
Like I think even obviously I was using Twitter to kind of do that a little bit more research, but like I was way back in like 2009, and he was pumping Christian hip hop. So he's on it, man. Yeah. So yeah. Where can my people find you? And any last words, man?
Facts. You can find me at kelmitchell.com, at I am Kel Mitchell on Instagram, Twitter, on YouTube. Just hit up Kel Mitchell, hit up Spirit Food Christian Center. if you want to check out my church as well. Yeah, man. And then I got a new show called Deliciousness on MTV. We're on our third season. The third season. We thank you, brother. We're filming, coming up soon, filming the third season. So you'll see those episodes, and we're taking it up a notch. So the videos are gonna be crazy. Yeah. And then Bless Mode, man. Make sure you hit up Target, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. Yeah, man, and get that joint. It's back there. I don't know if you see it, but it's back there. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, this has been One-on-One with Deuces. I have been the amazing Deuces. This has been the multi-talented, the legend Kel Mitchell, and we are out. Peace.
Flawless victory.